Well, hi, welcome back everybody. It's Sally coming to you from Ocho Rios in Jamaica, and this is part 4 of the light sconce that I'm making for a client of mine. Even though this is the third video, I kind of combined parts 2 and 3 in the last video. So let's go on. This is ultimately where I'm going to take you to in this series. And this is the wall sconce that I'm making. And I'll explain why I have the rock and those boards as I get to that section. But once I get to this part, there's not much more I can show you because I just have to fire it. Then I can glaze it, fire it, and I will show you the final piece. So I'm going to put this aside. I will be needing parts of it later. So I'm going to turn my camera down to my work table and I'm going to show you what I have and what's going on here. Now, I'm a wheel thrower. I'm not much of a hand builder, so if you see anything that I've done disastrously wrong, feel free to make a comment. I have a template which I made from the very first one, and I just drew out the diagram. So what's going to happen is as I form this and finish it, I will set it on this template to make sure that I've got the measurements and the dimensions and sizing all correct. Because this is one of 5 pieces, I want them all the same. So I'm just going to set that aside for now. These are the 2 strips that I cut off the form as you saw me do in step 3. And these are the other tools that I have. I have a hole punch and I have some rubber tip shapers that are going to help me when I put these pieces and attach them onto here. I also have a little, it's a plastic mustard, ketchup mustard container and whatever, and this is just full of slip. You can hear it. And what I do is probably about that much full of slip, and it is just great, so I don't have to dig it out of a jar or make it every time. I have this container. And when I run down, I just make more. So right now I probably have about this much in here, so it's going to last me a long time. And every once in a while I give it a good shake just to make sure that it homogenizes and gets to an even workable consistency. Because like clay, water is going to rise to the top. And here's our form that we did, that you saw me do on the wheel. So let's get at it. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my piece of plastic and I'm going to put it on top, and I'm just going to run my fingers over the edges of these strips, and what that does is it just smooths them out. I don't have to add water to my clay. I don't really want to, and this is a good alternative than using my sponge. And it's just using my fingers and pressing down. And just smooths that out. Speaking of my sponge, let me get it, just in case. And I'll just give it one little go over. So what I want to do is I have one side as my inside throwing, and it's got some ribs and lines and throwing marks on it. So I am going to use the outside, which is much smoother, and that's going to go here, and then this one is going to go there. But first, before I do anything, is I need to make the holes that we're going to, that will how to explain it? Holes that will go up for the bracket, so that when you put your nails in the wall, they will go in and slide up, and everything will slide down and fit into place and stay firm against the wall. So I have a hole punch. Now on my template, I've already marked where these holes are. So I'm just going to take these, and I have to be careful because I have to make an allowance that maybe a few centimeters of this is going to be what I attach to there. So I have to offset where I'm putting the bracket holes And likewise on this one, it does the same thing. So I have to, it looks like I'm going to be off center, which I'm actually doing on purpose. So there are my holes, and I'm going to mark it there. And I'll go ahead and I will make my one hole. And I'll explain to you why I'm doing 2 holes. And then I match them in the same spot on this one. And again, I'm going to go on the inside. I'm going to offset it. And I have this lovely tool that I got from Van Gilder Pottery, and it is just a lovely tool that I use to carve out holes, and I can do them to any size or thickness that I want. This one, of course, is standard. It only has one size of hole it's going to make. So what I do is I go down into the bottom one, because what's going to happen is when you put your screw in, or whatever you're using to attach these to the wall, it needs to be a little bit bigger than the upper one, so that the head, like if you're using a screw, the head of the screw can fit in. And then I just take my knife and I just go in and I just open these up and carve them like that. I don't know if you can see this, sorry. Let me do it this way. And I just carve it out, and I just take out that little piece. And there's what I do to attach. And then I'm going to do it again on the bottom. Again, I have them pre-measured. And I do the same thing down here. Now this doesn't have to be exact and perfect. I want it to be as close as I can to that. Because really where the skill is going to be is in the hanging and the measuring of where these holes go. So if they're a little off, it's not going to matter that much, but I do want to make it as precise as I can. As I said, this is a commissioned piece, so I take extra care to make sure that it is made properly. And now again, we take this for the bottom one and just expand it a little, make the hole a little bigger. I hope you see what I'm doing. You should be able to see what I'm doing. Let me just cut out that little bridge. This one needs to be adjusted a little bit. It's not quite as big as it needs to be. Okay. Then I'll just take my sponge and just tidy the ends up. Mess this one up a bit. Leave well enough alone. I can't leave well enough alone. Okay. Now, the next step in all of this now is going to work. I'm going to put this template aside. I don't need it anymore, not for the next step. What I'm going to do now is carefully pick this up and put it in your view. Okay, so this is the shape that I'm dealing with. This is the half dome. And all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to attach these pieces onto the side. One thing I want to say is that I'm really pleased in my throwing, and you can just see the consistency and how even that my wall thickness is. I'm really pleased with that. And this really shows how well. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll just throw a cylinder and then I'll just take it off the wheel and I'll slice it in half, and it'll give me an idea of how well I'm doing in the thickness and keeping an even thickness throughout the shape of my form. All right, so the next step I'm going to do is, and now I can't find my tool that I have. I have a little tool that I use to scratch the surface, but that's okay. I'll just use my needle tool. I don't know where it's gone to. It's gone back. I put it away last night. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to score these ends, because these slats are going to fit on here. And I'm going to do it to both sides. And what I'm going to do now is do it on the inside of these. Now you see why I offset the holes where I offset these, is because this is going to get attached to the pot. Okay, we're almost done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to run this and add some slip to these pieces here, to these ends. This is why having it in this container is so great. Also going to do the same thing to here. Not very good in doing a straight line. Okay, I'm just going to cover that up. I shouldn't need this again. Okay, now here goes the magic. I'm just going to attach this here. Let me turn this a little bit so you can see what it is that I'm doing. I hope you can see what I'm doing. I'm so used to filming myself on the wheel. This is the first time that I've actually come to my work table and filmed from here. I don't know if I can, I'm just trying to see if I can zoom in a little bit, but it doesn't seem to be working. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to take this tube out, because this is where these are going to come in handy again. And I just rest that up inside here and it's sitting firm against there, and then I can press this in and give myself a good solid seal. And this is a little bit taller, so I'm going to trim this right now. Okay. And I'm going to take my rubber tip tool. I have one that's got like a beveled end, and then this one has a flat end. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to, let me get this out of the way. Just going to go along. I hope you can see this. Let me see if I can turn this a little bit more. And I'm just going to blend these two pieces and seal that join. I could do it with my finger, but I'm going to do it with this tool. I go up in one direction, and then I'll go down in another direction to make sure that there's a really solid seal. A bit messy right now, but you'll see it's going to tidy up quite nicely in just a second. Okay. Now I take this shaping tool that's got a rubber end, and I'm just going to massage it and roll it all the way up. And now that seam has disappeared. And then I'll just do it on the top again, just to make sure that this join here, you don't see it. Okay, I'll take my sponge. Nope, I think I'm going to take this and I'm just going to go down. And tidy it up. Now I will fill with it as it's drying, but the idea is that you want to have a straight side here, because this is what's going to go up against the wall. Now I can remove this piece. Trying to, it seems to be stuck. Okay, all right. So what I have to do is I have to go inside now, and I'm going to, on the inside, I have to seal this join. So this is just going to take me a second, but you're not going to really be able to see what it is that I'm doing. And I actually have to do it with my left hand, and I'm not even remotely gifted with my left hand. So again, I'm just merging the two pieces of clay, pulling from the sconce end side and blending it into the bracket piece. nice thing is because I have a hollow bottom and I have this big hollowness here, I can get in there. All right, that's that. And I'm going to take my shaper again and go in and smooth that out. And it's just going to run up really, really, really nicely. And just make sure it all blends in and there's no seam. I'm not going to worry so much about the bottom half because once I turn this over, I can actually get access to it. All right. All right. Okay, I can bring this back around. And we're going to do the same thing to this piece. Now, interesting that this is taller and it was cut from the same form, but I found that on the last piece that I did too, so I'm just going to trim off just that little bit of top. So it is level. Okay, because we need to seal that. Again, now, put this in here to help support it while I seal this. Now again, I can do it with my hand. Last time I did it with the tool. This time I can do it with my hand, and I'm going in one direction as I go up and blend these two pieces. Kind of move the clay from one piece to the other, and then I'm going to go back. But actually, I do like my tool, so I'm going to go back because it really does grab the clay a little bit better, and I make sure I grab some clay. We're almost done. Okay. Don't forget the top. That's almost more important. Okay, I'll take my shaper and I'm just going to massage it and go down in a circular motion. And it just seems to erase any evidence of there being any join. I will show it to you. Okay. Release that piece. That one released a whole lot easier than the other one. But now I get to do this with my right hand. So this will be a little bit easier. And I'm just, as you know how to join two pieces of clay, just blend one piece into the other. Don't forget the top. Okay, and I'll use my shaper. And that the point of the shaper will get in that join really, really nicely and smooth it out. And there we have it. So, I have joined these two pieces. And the last thing for me to do now is to put down my template. Let me just move all this stuff. It looks messy now, but I will tidy it up. I'm fairly neat in my studio. Okay, now here's where my template comes in handy. And I'm going to very carefully, should be able to lift it. What I'm going to do is use this. And I know this is probably not the way to do it, but this way I'm going to do it. What I'm going to do now is line this up on one of these sides, because remember, this is my template. I'm going to put this board underneath and support this other side, because I need to lift it up to get out the tube. And now I can set this back down again on my template. Right, and let me show you what this looks like. Okay, so this gives me an opportunity now to go down and seal the bottom join, which I wasn't able to do earlier. And I'll just pay a little attention to that and seal this join here. Get in with my shaper and seal those joins that I wasn't able to reach from the other direction. Okay. Now, the next part is the drawing part. So what I do here now is I take my shrink roll and I just measure. Even though it's sitting on a template, I still want to measure and make sure that I've got this correct. So this is going to be, sorry, I've got the 12 or the 14 inch. Let me get the 12 inch or 12%. I'm just going to slide this in a little bit. I don't want this, my client does not want this to exceed 5 inches. So I've got this now set at 5 inches. And I will make sure that this is at 5 inches. Because I want to make sure I keep these walls straight, I'm going to use support to bring it in, and that's exactly the same measurement. Okay. Now I see a little bit of throwing lines. It's just going to come up when I glaze. Actually, after I bisque fire, I can sand that. Maybe I don't need to concern myself with it too much. All right, now also what I do is I just double check to make sure, because I've also done an arc here at the end, and when I pull this up, it shows me that my height is right on. It's exactly the same size as the other ones I've done. So I'm just going to go in with my sponge, do a little bit of tidying up, and we're good to go. Now, what I have is this piece of stone, and these are sticks that I use when I'm rolling out slabs of clay, but this works really perfect. What I do now is I don't want these in the drying process to fold or bend. I need them to stay absolutely flat. So I put one of these pieces here, and one of these pieces there. I press down to make sure that that is flat. And then I'm taking this stone and I'm very carefully going to put it in here, and this is going to weigh these down and hold those flat for the first drawing segment. And the last thing I do is just remeasure to make sure, because I'm going to leave this alone now, probably for at least a day. They are the same. So this will sit there and I will let this dry until it is bone dry. So that's it. That is the step, and this is what it is going to. This is what it is going to look like. This is the piece I just showed you a little bit earlier, and it's going to sit on the wall. And then the light will emanate out the bottom and out the top. You could carve it and make a really neat carving design. My client wanted them to be solid, so that's what they are. So this is what this looks like. So thank you very much for watching. I will go through the remainder process, which is a bisque fire, and then I will glaze it, and then I will fire them again up to cone 5. And I'm going to use opulence glaze for this. I'm going to do it in a marshmallow, which is a matte white. They're just going to be stunning. And then I will do a kiln unload, and you will see them come out of the kiln. So thank you very much for watching. If you like this series and these videos, please hit the like button and hit the bell if you'd like notifications of when I post again. Thank you very much.